All right, y'all, we're going to check out this boudoir photography business and see if it has BSS for these two Google searches. So we're back here in the GBC universe where we're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. And more on this, pinned video, home video, somewhere around here. And that's because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So we got our FSIC graph in white here. Highest intent people on the left. These are the peeps searching literally today for boudoir photo shoot in their city. We focus on those peeps here with our BSS videos about BSS because these are highest intent, easiest to convert, closest to the money people. Over on the right, our lowest intent people. We talk about those with our sister brand of Boudoir FB Ad Doctor, where we talk about BLCS. And currently over there, we only work with boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand per month in boudoir Facebook ads. Now, BSS means boudoir search sameness. That means a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google. 0 slots on page 1 on Google means obviously, they're on page 2 or deeper, somewhere deeper. And we care about this because we know approximately 80% of Google searches never ever even hit page 2. They're page 1 and done searches, that's it. Which means if we're on page 2, we're invisible to approximately 80% of the market. And 1 slot on page 1 of Google, that ain't good either because, there's 10 organic slots page 1 of Google. If 9 other boudoir photographers each have 1 slot, everyone's looking the same, everyone's got 1 slot. We're not standing out, we're basically invisible, and guess what? A boudoir photographer is, or a boudoir buyer, their behavior is going to be just clicking through everyone on page 1. Well, approximately 80% of the boudoir buyers, they're only going to be clicking through everyone on page 1. They'll never go to page 2. And they'll be comparing everyone on page 1. And as a result, they will, filling out everyone's contact form, getting price quotes, negotiating, pulling down the price, asking for more. It's kind of annoying to deal with, to run a business that way. And most of them won't even go with us. So it's like, man, what's even the point? Now, 0 1 slots on page 1 of Google is actually not normal. It is a symptom of 2 deeper root causes. And those 2 deeper root causes are market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality. So market saturation, the number one thing there is, well, basically everyone knows this. This is more boudoir photographers entering the market over time. Just simply as people upgrade their gear, kind of like get a new iPhone, get a new camera. This just naturally happens. Then eventually they throw up their Google My Business profile, saying they're a boudoir photographer. Have got their website ranking on page 1 of Google are competing to, saying they shoot boudoir photography. They are also increasingly posting in the mom groups on Facebook that that they now offer boudoir photo shoots. And a big market saturation time with COVID, tons of people lost their jobs, so they earn money. Everyone's got a super powered smartphone with awesome camera. Tons of people became boudoir photographers in that time. Now, the false belief of page 1 equality. This is the new one that very few people know about. So what this is actually a lot of boudoir photographers have kind of assumed or accepted that every boudoir photographer gets either 0 or 1 slots page 1 on Google. And it's kind of like, yeah, whether Google wants to give you that slot, yes or no. And maybe you're on, who knows, slot 7, page 1, slot 7. Then some market saturation happened. Now you're on page 2, slot 2. And a lot of boudoir photographers are like, oh, well, I hope those new peeps, delete their website and Google de-indexes them. So maybe Google will bring me back up onto page 1. But no, this is 100% incorrect. This is the wrong way to think about it, because what we have learned and we have the data to show is Google will actually give us as many page 1 slots on Google as we want, and we actually do put in the effort to acquire. And I know this because I went from 0 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google to 9 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google in only 10 days with this new methodology we discovered. So that's how we know the false belief of page 1 equality is exactly that, a false belief. Now, boudoir photographer with BSS, boudoir search sameness, is a disappearing boudoir photographer, a DBP. Again, if we got 0 slots page 1 Google search, that means there's page 2 or deeper. We're invisible to approximately 80% of the marketplace. If we got 1 slot page 1 on Google, we're looking the same as the other 9 competitors that are on there for a total of 10 slots. We're still invisible. We're still disappearing. We're slowly dying. So both these scenarios, it's kind of the canary in the coal mine, kind of the warning light, the red flag that's telling us our boudoir photography business itself is now on its way to disappearing. But thankfully, we now have a solution. We've discovered that BSS is actually treated with social search saturation, aka our S-cubed methodology. And we know this because we invented it. That's how we went from 0 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google, to 9 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google in only 10 days. We'll see that data here, I don't know, like 4 or 5 more pictures. Now, S-cubed methodology, the way it works, it's exactly in the name. We saturate social search with the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords, so we show up them there for those. And this is kind of like, when we do this, it's kind of like the snow at the top of the Andes Mountains down in South America on the eastern side, the backside. Snow back there. What eventually happens is that snow melts, small streams, small rivers, and guess what? It all flows into the Amazon River. That Amazon River is Google page 1. But to get all that water there, first got to be snow at the top of the mountains. So saturating social search, that's our snow. That's where everything begins. That's the input we care about, our S-cubed methodology. Everything flows from successfully executing S-cubed methodology correctly. And the interesting thing about this is the only solution I've seen for boudoir photographers that actually enables them, that gives them a chance for their business to continue to grow, even in the face of market saturation, and even if they don't have a large, well-known brand, and to do all this give them this opportunity in a relatively quick time frame. The only other shot would obviously to have a large, well-known brand to compete against market saturation. But dude, that takes 5 to 10 years. We ain't got that time. We got AI taking people's jobs. We don't have time. We don't have 5 to 10 years to build a large, well-known brand. What's actually interesting is utilizing S-cubed methodology. My estimates is it will actually speed up the process of creating a large, well-known brand in an area by approximately 8x, because it'll be seen with such a much higher frequency across so many more platforms. That's my estimates. It's kind of like a secondary benefit of utilizing this technology. So now an example. All right, so right now we're going to Phoenix, and there are currently 1 million boudoir photographers in Phoenix. We are one of them. Since we don't have a large, well-known brand, then the only way we can, everyone's got their websites and their boudoir photographer competing page 1 in Google search. So since nobody's got any of those since there's so many competitors, we realize, all right, we got to use S-cubed methodology to get out of this mess. Let's say we crank it up to the max. Let's say we're ranked for the first 300 slots across all of social search for the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords. And let's say that flows out onto Google. And we're taking up the first 300 organic slots on Google. And we know it's 10 organic slots per page on Google. And so as a result, we're taking up literally the first 30 pages. And we are basically, for any boudoir buyer to find in any of our competitors, they got to scroll down to slot 301. And on Google, that's page 31. I mean, who's doing that? Basically no one. So when any boudoir buyer is actually searching for, any boudoir photo shoot in our city or any high intent boudoir buyer keyword in our city, we're basically the only ones showing up. And as a result, we, whose business is growing? Most likely ours. Whose business is dying, fading, disappearing? Most likely the other 999,999 boudoir photographers that buyers really can't even find them because we're saturating all the surfaces where they could be found. So this is kind of a ultra extreme example of what S-cubed methodology can enable for a boudoir photography business. Now, once you're with S-cubed methodology, we have page 1 visibility, P1V. Yeah, we get our initial benefit, more slots page 1 on Google. Got our second initial benefit of every new slot we get page 1 on Google. We actually get, we're actually kicking our competing boudoir photographers in our city off that page, and we effectively make them invisible because now they're on page 2 or deeper, and we already know approximately 80% of Google searches are page 1 only searches. So we can basically choose to make our competitors disappear and put their business on the path of disappearing with depending on how much effort we want to put into acquiring all these slots. Now, page one visibility activates Boudoir search visibility for us, BSV. So this is where the GBC universe has a recommended minimum of having minimum of 3 out of 10 slots page one Google search. That's because all the other boudoir photographers will basically have 1 slot, so we're going to be dominating them for buyers scrolling page 1. And on the ultra rare case, someone has 2 slots, we're going to be dominating them as well because we have 3. We also know the boudoir photographer with BSV is a visible boudoir photographer, VBP. So we got our full basically our full kind of got our full micro universe here. We got a disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness caused by the dual horns of market saturation and page one equality, the false belief page one equality. We can now solve it with S-cubed methodology. We achieve page one visibility. We become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility. Just kind of our micro universe here. And now we're gonna look at my results. So the results that I got, purely using S-cubed methodology. So I want to dominate rank for this keyword, BLCS boudoir. I want to dominate page one Google search. And let's see the results I got with it. So we're getting slot 1, Instagram, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 10, me. So the best thing about this is from 0 to 10 slots page 1 Google search to 9 out of 10 slots page 1 Google search in only 10 days, purely utilizing S-cubed methodology. And now we're going to check out this. We're going to see if this boudoir photography business has BSS, what we've been talking about, boudoir search sameness. All right. The first search, we always do the local search. This is boudoir photographer, Langley Township, British Columbia. So it's out east, some suburb part or whatever of BC. So we got the Google 3-pack. All right. Now we're at the the organic. So we got Klein. All right, this is who we're looking for. So we got 1 slot. And then let's see. All right, Klein again, but that's Langley Branding Photographer. It's not boudoir. We're not relevant to the keywords that we actually searched. So people's brain's actually going to scroll right by this, not even see it because they're searching for boudoir. And this happens like instantly in their brain. So that doesn't count. Going down, going down, going down. All right, so Klein, we got 1 out of 10 here. So that's BSS for this search, the local search. Let's go to the city level search. Now we're searching boudoir photographer, Vancouver, BC. So we're still looking for Klein again. All right, we got Klein here, boudoir, all right. And that's it. We got BSS for both searches. So, as more market saturation happens, higher chance, we'll be getting pushed off, that we get pushed off page 1 to page 2 of death. And even on page 1, we're looking the same as everyone else, having only, 1 out of 10 links here. So again, this is the false belief of page 1 equality in action, which is actually the most common false belief I'm seeing among boudoir photographers. So if you're a boudoir photographer and you've got BSS boudoir search sameness for your own business, you're seeing the market's getting more and more saturated over time. And you feel like you're a disappearing boudoir photographer, or gonna become disappearing, because we'll talk about it in like 10 seconds. And you also see that the page 1 equality is a false belief, like everyone kind of automatically accepted because there was no like word to describe it, to say, hey, I believe this is true or not true, but now we got a word to describe it. And you're seeing the way AI is creeping in, more and more people being laid off, which, what was the last time that happened? COVID, what happened? Massive influx of boudoir photographers, massive influx, massive supply, all fighting for the same eyeball, approximately the same number of buyers. So it's getting harder and harder for each boudoir photographer that enters the market. And you're saying, okay, it looks like I do need the S cubed methodology to kind of preempt or prepare myself for AI pushing more boudoir photographers into the market, which means there's going to be more competition for page one on Google search. But if I can preempt that, get there already, and it's probably already happening right now as we speak, then we can be prepared to not become a disappearing boudoir photographer. We can achieve page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer, even though more are probably going to be joining, and achieve boudoir search visibility, and get the extra bonuses on the back end where kind of the more these thematic keyword columns are attached to our brand throughout social, things like that, social search, and the higher chance we show up in AI overview search here at the top of Google searches, and the higher chance we show up among AI search in general, ChatGPT search, Microsoft Copilot search, Google Gemini search, Claude search, Perplexity search, whoever. When we have these like thematic keyword pillars entwined with us across all our social channels, ranking on Google, this is where the AIs pull from. So we're increasing the probability to show up in all these searches as a back-end benefit. And we're also noticing that if someone else starts using S-cubed methodology for their boudoir photography business before us in our city, all those front-end benefits, page one Google, kicking competitors off could happen to us. And those back-end benefits, them showing up in AI search instead of us. And then, well, you wouldn't be able to work with me because I'm only working with one person per city. So you'd have to figure out S-cubed methodology on your own and then implement it all on your own. And you'd have to actually meet the work output of the other boudoir photographer using it in conjunction with me and exceed us to catch up and overtake us before we overtake page one on Google, kind of push it as far as we want to. And so you've decided, all right, it's better to simply be a first mover because you need this on your way to becoming the #1 boudoir photographer in your city. So if that's you, shoot me a DM when I open up for new patient intake. Right now the hospital's closed. My DMs are closed. Cannot get in even if you wanted to. But shoot me a DM for when I do open up the doors. And we'll see if you qualify. We gotta have some questions. Gotta make sure I'm not working with anyone else in your city. And yeah, we'll see if you qualify.